Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to part 2 of a stroll along the River Nene, starting from the Milton Ferry Bridge just west of Peterborough. We're going to head along the Nene Way, and we're going to walk about 6.5 miles out to Castor along the river, and then heading back over one or two very tiny hills and back to Longthorpe. So we've completed our mile or so's walk down the Nene Valley Way, or the Nene Way, and we've come up to the railway line, and this is the old railway line from Peterborough to Northampton and beyond. I think it went on to Oxford and the southwest beyond that. Inevitably, one of the railway lines sadly closed in the 1960s, but restored to some degree in the 1970s, and continues to run today by under the name of the Nene Valley Railway. So you can take a train ride from Peterborough through the Nene Valley to Wansford, or Stibbington really, by the A1, the Great North Road, which is where the main engines and rolling stock are stored. So it's a pleasant 11-12 mile ride. Sometimes there are diesels, sometimes steam trains, all sorts of things run throughout the year. Of course, very quiet at the moment. This is June 2020, so very quiet at the moment. But at least part of the line is up and running, and it's been, successful now for what, 20, 30, 40 years. And the railway has been used for a lot of TV productions and film productions. My wife and I, whenever we're watching a program and we see some railway footage with a steam train or something like that, we will say Nene Valley Railway, Nene Valley Railway. Sometimes it is, sometimes it ironically isn't. The mountains of Wales or Scotland sort of give that away. But quite a lot's been filmed here. Episodes of Poirot, 2 James Bond films, at least to my knowledge. GoldenEye, part of GoldenEye was filmed here, and a large part, or some of the most important scenes in Octopussy, were filmed here as well. So look out for those in the future. See if you can spot the railway, but always popular for a little trip out. So we've just passed over the railway line, and rather than head along the river, we can just sort of cut the corner off a little bit by making for this stile and this footpath just across the fields here. It just takes us away from the river for a little while and across some open farmland. So that's what we're going to do at this point here. And we're just looking out across the fields before we make our way down towards Castor Mill. And what we'll come across here is the bridge is over a stream on the left hand side, which is the stream that flows out from the watermill, or
flows past the watermill, or the former watermill, is called the Black Dyke Stream. And up ahead of us, sort of on the horizon as we climb over another stile, there's the building which is the watermill. That's now a private house. And immediately ahead of us, and we'll pass by this in a moment or two, is Castor Mill, or the old windmill, known as the Black Dyke Mill, sometimes known as Mr. Louth's Mill, or the Louth Mill. And there's been milling here at Castor down by the river since at least the 1690s. Certainly there are records that go back to that date. And of course, being the miller, milling would have been absolutely essential over many, many centuries, with corn and flour, and then certainly bread being a staple for most people. But the mill here fell into disuse in the 1900s and was eventually partially demolished. There was a bit of a dispute at one stage between Mr. Louth and either the landholder or certainly the property owner from whom he was leasing some of the land. And there's a story that the dispute got so heated that both of them ended up in the water at one stage, fighting over the necessary demolition. But a nice, curious little spot. We'll make our way through the gate and then past this. It's not really a hamlet. There's 2 or 3 houses down here at the end of Mill Lane, which runs from Castor right the way down to the river here. There's 1 or 2 little houses here, or 1 or 2 quite substantial houses here, and then we'll turn north again towards the railway line before we make another turning and carry on west. So we make our way through this sort of avenue of trees. It's proving to be a curious day today. Generally very warm and sunny, plenty of sunshine, and then just the odd spells where the clouds come over and it gets quite cloudy, quite refreshingly cool again. So just heading up towards the bridge over the Nene Valley Railway, and then we're going to head west down that path on the left hand side in a moment or two. And I'm just mindful of the old adage that you should never judge a man until you've walked a mile in his shoes. I often think about this when I'm walking. Never judge a man until you've walked a mile in his shoes, because after that, forget about him. You're a mile away and you've got his shoes.
Railway heads off west here, and it's not possible to walk along the line any further than this point. I thought that was possible, but it clearly isn't. There's a stream and things to cross, and there's the footpath either heads south towards the river or this way north, which I think will be back into to Castor, but that's fine. I'll just have a stroll along here, see what I find. So I'm heading up towards Castor village, and I've obviously learned it's not possible to walk right the way along the railway line itself. It's necessary to sort of detour into the village. I'm probably not going to walk all the way up to the railway line again, because it's just a bit too far. It just adds too much to my distance this morning that I want to do. But in a way it illustrates the importance of just checking 1 or 2 things before you set out. Again, there's no great harm today. It doesn't matter at all because I'm not going very far and I know the area very, very well. I've got a good sense of direction here. I'm just going to head back into Castor and see what else I find. So into the village of Castor and going up Stocks Hill. Decent little climb up. Burger's Church coming up on our left. Fantastic name. Good name, Burger. A little view of the church. Some people admiring the view as well. These fragments of walling are the remains of one of the largest buildings in Roman Britain. Parts of the building appear to have survived until the Saxon period, when it may have formed part of an early Christian foundation associated with Burger, to whom the church is dedicated. So some Roman remains, like so many old Roman sites, then possibly recycled, I suppose, or reimagined, transformed into a Christian settlement a bit later on. I'm going to try this footpath here just to see where it goes, because I've never ever been down here. So we'll try it, see where we get to. Just for the sake of it. I imagine it will bring me round to the top of Castor Hill, and then I can take a right turn down towards Milton Ferry, but we'll just see. The sheep there are safely grazing, and there's just one lying out in the sun. All he is just lying down chewing the cud in the shade. And not a bad view actually, just from this slight vantage point across the houses in the foreground in Castor village, and then beyond that is where I've walked through. Just a mass of green trees, but the trees and the meadows, and beyond that will be the railway, the river, and then probably just below the horizon, as we can see, there will be the A1, the Great North Road, but too far away to actually see anything moving, any of the traffic moving on that at the moment. So the footpath emerges on this private land with a permitted footpath across the hay meadow. So again, I'm walking due east now, roughly. Part of Castor village is down on my right, on the just to the south of me, and I guess the property up on the hill, where I can see the wall, must be part of, I think it's called Castor House, sort of a larger, I suppose, former manor house or something there. We'll head along this way, see what we find. The good thing is I've still got plenty of coffee left, I've got plenty of water, and I've got, I've eaten 2 stroop waffles, and I've got 1 stroop waffle to go. Now the stroop waffles are fantastic, I'll show you those some other time, but they are good in the sense that they are, they're sweet and tasty. They're very light, so easy to carry, and very calorific, so if you want a quick burst of energy, then that's fine. I mean, it's not, I don't really need it on a walk like this when I'm doing 6 or 7 miles, something like that. It's not largely on the flat, and it's a warm day, but it's very, very pleasant just to sit out and have a cup of coffee and one of these caramel biscuits, a stroop waffle, and enjoy that. So coming up to another stile, we'll see where we go to after this bit. So there we go, just emerging at the top of Castor Hill. So a slightly different way round. Makes a change. And now I'm going to head back towards Milton Ferry. There's whether it's a red kite or a buzzard over the field. Pair of buzzards. There might be a pair of buzzards. Difficult, very, very difficult to see. As there's a pair, it could well be a pair of buzzards. They're not calling to each other though. There's a seagull up there, I think, which is probably keeping an eye on them. It's not very happy. But I suspect then the hawk or the buzzard is seeing if anything runs out from where the grass cutting is going on. I guess then if any rabbits or voles or anything like that are disturbed, it will take its opportunity. Now I don't have a zoom on this camera, so it's not possible to get in close on that, but interesting to see. Well, it's certainly getting warm. I'm heading back along the A47, the old A47, back towards the western side of Peterborough. So on my right, on the south side, the occasional view of the river and fair meadows in the distance. So we're back at the ferry bridge. Also, it's very, very picturesque. A lot more people down here now. It's getting busy with people out and about. And again, it's a good spot because it's only just outside the city. So if you're like me, you can walk here, or it's not too far to cycle, or indeed come in the car if you need to. And you can just make out here the remains of the double white lines when this was the main road, and the hollows where the cat's eyes used to be. A real twist and turning road through here until the new road was opened up. I'm going to go over to this piece of modern sculpture, and there's my final little coffee break here by this piece of sculpture. And then it'll be the final journey.